If you don't decide your rules ahead of time, you'll lose every time in the moment. We need to decide what your rules are, what my rules are. Welcome back to the Spend Like You Mean It video series. This is video 7 of 10. I'm having a blast doing these. I hope they're adding value. If they are, please like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps me out. Please throw a comment in there, good, bad, or indifferent. I want to hear from you so that way I'll know how I can continue to create better and better content. I think you're going to love this video as we talk about building your personal spending code because I'm going to throw myself under the bus. And who doesn't want to hear me throw myself under the bus? About 4 years ago, I was having coffee with a friend of mine, and he asked me what my values were. And we began this great discussion around values and what we love to do and what we're passionate about. And I told him about health and travel. Those are the main two things at the time. And I still am obsessed with and I love. And what he had me do, because he is a bold friend and he's a great friend of mine, he had me check my spending and actually look it up and see what I was doing and how I was doing. And I can still remember some of the charges on there that almost had my heart just sink because I just told him what the two major values were, health and travel. And I couldn't even find anything on my bank statement that was involving health and travel for the last week or two. They were on, I remember the one, a couple of them on clothes. And I bought clothes. I bought a piece of furniture that I don't even think I used. And then I ended up selling it 8 months later. I think it was an ottoman. I'm like, I'm not even going to use this. I don't even need one. I had subscriptions that I didn't want, and it was dumb stuff. And then I would travel a decent amount for work, and I'd do these speaking engagements. And I used to be somebody, and I've gotten a lot better at this, that would eat and stop at convenience stores all the time. Way too much. If it's a 5 hour drive, I don't think I need to stop 4 times to get snacks and drinks that are overpriced out of my mind. It was adding up to well over, oh, this is going to hurt to say, well over $1,000 a month. $1,000 a month. Ugh, it still kills me to say that because that had been going on for way too long. And it wasn't even that. That was part of it, but it was that my spending did not align with what I love. And you show me your bank account and I'll show you what you care about. There is some truth to that. We talked about that in a previous video, and there is some truth to that. My spending did not align with my values at all. I'm somebody that just loves wearing similar clothes to work, to shoot videos, to do speeches in, to exercise in. I wear very different clothes to exercise in than to give a speech in, of course. But I love wearing similar clothes. It takes an aspect of thinking out of my day. And what it does is I think about the time value of things where if I had a lot of clothes and it would take me 10 minutes to make a decision, and then I would think about, did I make the right decision? And I'd think about that for another 20 minutes. There's a half hour, bam, gone. Now that's an extra half an hour I have of brain power to focus on things that I want to do. I, I'm somebody that gets no joy out of a new. I have a buddy of mine years ago that couldn't wait to show me this $200 pair of jeans that he got. He's like, I feel so good in this. Like my confidence is high. I'm like, $200 for a pair of jeans? That sounds insane to me. I get no joy out of buying something like that. None. But the problem is I was doing it. I get no joy out of it and I was doing it. I have this concept now, and this is be one of the major takeaways from this video. Hopefully this really lands with you. I call it, you could call it VASS, VASS, VASS. VASS, having a value aligned spending strategy. VAS, value aligned spending strategy. To me, this is a huge takeaway because it creates a big shift where I know you hear people that say, hey, the $9 cup of coffee is killing you. And you know what? That can be true because if you compound that, if you would have invested it 20 years from now, that's a $150 cup of coffee or whatever it amounts to with compounding. Probably not that much. But I get where that's coming from. Also, I get the flip side of I think the argument is if you just sip that $9 cup of coffee for the next 2 hours and it brings you a ton of joy, that's pretty inexpensive for joy return, right? I have this thing I call my family, I talk about a joyometer, and like different things give you certain amounts of joy. For me, buying a $9 cup of coffee would give me zero joy. And I'd be like, why did I just do that? I can drive to work somewhere or wherever and it's free or it's a buck 99. I don't need a $9 cup of coffee. I'll normally make it at home in a mug and it costs me like 9 cents, right? That just seems smarter to me. And I would beat myself up if I bought a $9 cup of coffee every day. I would. But that's different. Somebody could have that's a 10 on their joyometer. That's the favorite best part of their day. I mean, maybe it's time for life adjustments if that's the best part of your day, but that's a different story. Some people truly get a lot of value and joy out of that. I don't, so I don't do it. And what's the shift we need to make in order to do this? One of the major shifts, and this is the major shift in this video, is shifting from being reactive, to intentional. How do we go from reacting, as we talked about in the last video, all these advertisements and everything is pulling, they want our eyeballs so they can get our dollars. That's reacting. How do we go from that to intentional? To me, it's this value aligned spending strategy. You align your spending with your values, and then you get joy out of spending. I truthfully, and again, I'm rolling myself under the bus this whole video, which gives you some personal insight into me and how I operate. My wife knows how I operate and do all this stuff. And she's the same way with what I'm about to say. We love spending a considerable amount of money on experiences, travel experiences, things that we will create memories with. We love it. And we've elevated those experiences in some areas. And we also love hiking, which is a great experience that costs you nothing. But that is a value of ours. Travel, experiences, creating memories, we love it. On the flip side, and my wife would tell you this if she was on this video, and it's just, this is how I am, spending $200 on a high-end dinner, I hate it. I hate it. I feel like I'm getting robbed. I'm like, what? $200 on an expensive dinner? That could be food for 2.5 weeks. Like, that's how I think about it. Of course, going on a beautiful date night with my wife, I love that. But we don't tend to go out to a high-end dinner. We would do something different. Like we could see a show, live music in the park, or seeing a movie, or going duck pin bowling. We just did that. It's a $19 date. We have a freaking blast. But that's our and my values. That's our values. You may love it. You may be willing to work a job you hate just to go out to dinner twice a week. And if that's you, that's beautiful. That is absolutely not me and probably never will be me. Period. But that's great. So figure out what you actually enjoy spending money on and see if you're actually doing it. And then see where you're like, I don't really get, maybe you hate travel and you're like, I don't get any joy out of travel. And you look at your bank account and you're spending a lot of money on travel. That doesn't align. That aligns with what I would love to do, but that doesn't align with what you would love to do. So figure out what you enjoy spending money on and see if you're actually doing that. And then if you're not, cut the crap like I had to do when this guy called me out. We were having coffee years ago. Cut the stupid spending. The convenience store thing was the main takeaway I got from this conversation with him. And I have drastically shifted that. Not perfect with it, but I just, I don't get joy out of massively overspending on stuff that doesn't really give me any value or joy at all. The main takeaway, as we talked about shifting from reactive to intentional, is what can we do? Can we create different actions? Like, I do love this one. I still love this one. Waiting 24 hours for a non essential purchase. Waiting 24 hours, it's sitting in your Amazon cart, but you give it 24 hours. I love doing this because most of the time the next day, it's like, nah, I didn't really need that. Delete it. And then I forget about it and life goes on. Also, auditing your values versus your spending every month or a couple times a year to make sure you're aligned. Because if you're misaligned, then you can adjust it the following month. If you have a huge value of being healthy and you look at your spending and you think, I didn't spend any money on being healthy or a focus there, then you're misaligned. Or if you value health and you look at your spending and there's a lot of spending at bars and liquor stores and unhealthy restaurants, you're like, okay, well, maybe I am misaligned there. My spending is not lining up with what I value. Value aligned spending strategy. Give that a shot. I hope it helps. I know that conversation with an acquaintance years ago at the coffee shop really helped me. I hope this provides value to you. If it does, like, subscribe, comment. I want to hear from you because I want to keep creating content that will help you and your family create freedom for yourselves and for generations to come. Thanks for watching. Next week, a little preview is we're talking about the emotional trap. It's going to be very, very interesting. The emotional trap we'll talk about some emotions next week. There's a little teaser. I'm already excited to see you next week. Have the best week of your life. And remember, challenges do build champions.